Hey there, welcome to the Luz Lemire channel. Welcome to February 2nd guidance. I'm surprised I'm doing this because I wasn't going to. But here we are. Let's see how we go in February as far as the dailies go. I am slowly putting out the monthlies, so who knows? That may actually override because I can't sit for too long. My back is not doing so well. Alright, so Gemini. May I have any actors, aspiring actors watching this? Keep fighting the good fight. And happy birthday to anybody whose birthday it is. Come through February 2nd, baby. That means you were conceived. No. Alright. Let's do it. February 2nd guidance, please. Like. Interesting. In reverse. Moonlight in reverse. Excuse me. I'm just curious about whether or not I should pull out another card. Moonlight in reverse. Moonlight overall talks about intuition, seeing in the dark, the dark of the consciousness, the dark of your, seeing, moving by faith. Not so much faith, but like moving by guidance. I'm just debating if I need to pull another card. I don't know. I'm getting mixed messages, which is funny because this is literally, in this deck, this is my higher self card, really. Moonlight. Gemini. It's funny how that works out. It's funny, too, because Gemini is from this game. It's called, girl, it is so fucking good, okay? It's called Mystic Messenger, and I'm low-key about to start a channel where I just play the game and, like, record my reactions because it's so fucking good. It's, the actor, there's a character in there who's an actor, an aspiring actor, and he's known as a narcissist because he is very, very into himself. Like, extremely. And, he did a one-man show called Gemini. And he is also a character in the game that, spoiler alert, receives premonitions. He receives prophetic dreams. Some of his dreams, he's noticed when he has certain symptoms, they come true. And so he has a certain mastery over himself in that he gets these premonitions, these dreams, and he's like, this is going to happen. And when it relates to him, he handles it how he needs to handle it, and when it relates to others, he tries to tell them. So, without too many spoilers, he can sometimes doubt his dreams, especially in the fact that they're future focused, right? Like, I don't like doing predictions, and even when I'm reading, because essentially sort of read blind when I do private readings, I don't have immediate feedback. And sometimes, as it's been lately, when I read general guidance, I'm really reading for something that hasn't happened yet. It ends up being more of a predictive-y thing than guidance necessarily. But it really does turn out to be guidance, but it's more like guidance for something that hasn't yet happened. So that's been very interesting for me, because that's kind of like where things have leveled up on my end. but they leveled up like that a while ago. I'm just not to say I'm just now catching up. I'm just now stepping into the fact that, yeah, okay, fine, that is exactly what's happening. And I know that me realizing it personally, it means I've actually also souped up to some other level. I'm not doing personal readings right now for that purpose as well, because I need to be okay with knowing that when I do a reading, it's going to be not insanely accurate, but it's going to be, some things are going to be things that haven't yet happened. Which I guess is why people go to readers in the first place. But, yeah, I can't control what's coming through. I can't control sometimes the guidance that's coming through. It's the message that's trying to find whomever it is. How does this relate to you? How does this relate to you? What are your abilities? Zen is an actor. He is very into himself. Truly, he would be the god Narcissus, who is just falls in love with himself and wastes away looking at himself in the mirror, because truly that is that character. But he also has this extrasensory gift where he has these sort of visions and things like that. So he uses his skills as well. But with this in the reverse, let me read this to you really quickly. I also like that this is the second to last card in the Enchanted Map deck. It's meaningful to me in some way because then the last card is listening. Oh, excuse me. No, it's not. It's not the second to last card. What you talking about, girl? It is the... Oh, never mind. Never mind. Don't worry about that. I thought it was. But 53, listening, is the card that I was thinking about. Scratch that line of thinking. Never mind. Ooh. Alright. Too much analyzing is getting you nowhere. Stop overthinking things. You may be exhausted from second-guessing yourself all the time and losing your footing. Are you insecure about your ability to make good choices? Step back and regroup and enter into a more trusting relationship with the flow of life. Don't become overly concerned with perceived mistakes. That's funny. How will you learn to dance if you don't occasionally take a misstep? On the moonlit pathways, you can discover love and truth and wondrous things. There's nothing to fear but fear itself. Go play, have fun, stay open, and trust. Alright. I'll say two things, yeah? Number one, in the upright, this card talks about trusting intuition in a way that other messages don't say. It talks about resisting second guessing, and your intuition is especially sharp right now, and that you can also, go and find a reader who you trust and get a reading. Like, this is that card that says go on ahead and illuminate your path. Your hunches are on target. In the reverse, it kind of talks to me a little bit about empathic overload, but not so much empathic overload as it is the way it says too much analyzing is getting you nowhere. Stop overthinking things. I really appreciate this card because to me, it's almost like we're so... to me, it tells me... It's sort of... Okay. One of the reasons behind me doing the dailies is for me to track the energy. There's a shift happening, and I want to track it. I want to have an orthography of the energy changing and see, oh yeah, this day, this energy, like this is where things that are pivoting. This is where things start moving, so I can track it personally. In January especially. In February, the energy feels a little bit different for me. I'm not sure if I'll really be able to do it all month long, and I've been wondering if I start it, then I have to do it all month long. Don't worry, I'm gonna relate this to you soon. Just let me get this out. It's about me really wanting to make sure that the days are covered. With the stop over analyzing and stop overthinking, it really reminds me of something that I find myself telling myself, and something that I find myself telling other people, and like when we do the chill out lives and the chatty lives where we're just hanging out shooting the breeze, or even Q&As, it's where like we're human beings having a spiritual experience, or rather we're spiritual beings having a human experience. So go on ahead and have that experience. You don't always have to have, you know, a reading on every little thing, every big thing even. Sometimes it's okay to make a mistake or a misstep. This week, the Money Weekly guidance was not it was no it wasn't it was not no I don't know what to say. It just was not. However, it's a part of life. It's a part of life that says, yes, certain moves have been made, certain places are in place, and this is where you're at. And sometimes it's not going to be the best place that you're at, but it is where you're at, make the best of it. Sometimes you can overthink and say, how can I do this differently? How could I have done this differently? But sometimes, literally, there's nothing else you could have done or nothing else you can do in the moment, given what it is. So, relax. Knowing, it's almost like for me, when I pray, it helps me release greatly, because then I say, I know in my heart that I've given my problems to hands that are bigger than my own. In the most capable hands, hands that I trust, God's hands. It's in God's hands. Truly is a statement that's meant to free us. When we say, you know what, I'm just going to do what I need to do and trust that I'm moving by faith, trust that I'm being moved by spirit, and where I wind up is where I wind up. Where you play with life, you make those choices. Caleb Reed talks about oracle abuse, which is basically, you know, when you're going pick a card after pick a card after pick a card after reading after reading after reading after reading after reading after reading, you know, for signs and what's going to happen, this, that, and the other. It's a sense of it's a sense where you're doing so much and you're receiving so much input, extrasensory input, that it becomes too much, and you're kind of inhibiting yourself from playing. So I know that sometimes, often, we can feel lost. I know that sometimes we can feel like we need to know what's going to happen next, because the moon isn't bright enough for us to see. Because at this point, what is it, February 2nd? We're close to a new moon. A new moon, it's dark now. So the night, where I am, it's tons of snow. So the snow is helping see. But when it's nighttime and when there's a new moon, the night sky has lost a great source of light. It's less and less. Sure, the stars are still there, and for us here, there's tons of snow on the ground, which helps bounce off the light, but you can't see. You can only see as far as you can see. And this card, this message here, is kind of saying, yep, yep, that's it. That's as far as you can see. That's as far as you need to see. So what are you gonna do? Keep fretting and trying to squint your eyes and see what is in the beyond, see what the light doesn't touch? Or are you just gonna go ahead and enjoy and play in the snow? Are you going to go ahead and try and find a way to find joy in where you're at? Try and find a way to find a semblance of play, a semblance of comfort, a semblance of, okay, you know, it's in God's hands. I wash my hands of this in this moment, at least today. I believe there are some transits or something that are beginning to happen in February as well. And I feel like this is a good reiteration that things are, I suppose, still in flux. If you're in a state where you're second guessing your intuition or not really knowing what to do or where to go, step back before you make any choice. And I really, really like the message that it says, enter into a more trusting relationship with the flow of life. Which reminds me of the message of, you don't have to do everything on your own. You know? I know trusting life can be really difficult because sometimes life screws you over. I mean, you know, real talk. At least it feels that way, right? It can be difficult to trust in the flow of life because the flow of life is so erratic, and the flow of life isn't necessarily on your side. It's not really on anybody else. It's not really on anybody's side. But the nice thing about being able to trust in the flow of life, which, number one, I'll try. I'd rather trust God, to be honest with you. I'd rather be like, you know what, Lord, like, I need your help. I need you to guide my steps. And at least when I say that, I have to enter into a trusting relationship with the divine. And that way I'm like, you know what? Where God takes me is where God takes me. It's a surrender, trusting in the flow of life, trusting in the flow of the divine. It is a surrender. And that looks like not trying to sort of preempt things. So I do believe in planning, but there's sometimes where we plan too much and then we plan for the wrong things, or we're so caught up in our planning that it cripples us, or we get to the moment and the moment is so different that it cripples us because we weren't planning for this moment, and because we're trying to scramble for the things that we plan for, we're not present to what is needed in the given moment, you know? So I really, really like this. And then he goes on to say, don't become overly concerned about perceived mistakes. This is really great. How will you learn to dance if you don't occasionally take a misstep? How will you know you don't like a certain food unless you taste it? How will you know you like a certain food unless you taste it? Sometimes it's going to be hit and miss, you know? On the moonlit pathways, you can discover love and truth and wondrous things. There is nothing to fear but fear itself. Go play, have fun, stay open, and trust. Really, when all else fails, that's when that happy, happy card comes up, where it's like, look, you're at where you're at. It is what it is. So find some joy in this moment. That's the reading. Keep your head on and keep luck.